Hey guys, John V here from PhoneArena. Right now you're watching our in-depth video review of the 2013 edition of the Google Nexus 7. It's 1 year later, it's sporting a new, thinner, lighter design combined with some updated hardware, the addition of a new camera, and of course it's running Android 4.3 Jelly Bean, the latest and most up-to-date version of the platform, starting off at $230 for the base 16GB model. We're going to find out if this tablet continues to be at the head of the class in the 7-inch tablet category. Quite the predictable thing to find with any successive device. This 2013 model of the Google Nexus 7 is both more lightweight and thinner than its predecessor. It measures in at 34/100ths of an inch thick, so very streamlined, it's uniform too. But the thing we noticed that this time around, they kind of stretched out the tablet, so it is longer than its predecessor, but it isn't as wide. And with that, seeing that the bezels have been reduced, it makes just for an easier time holding the device, so it's very comfortable. At the same time, the design is very modest, nothing really extravagant about it. It pays homage to its predecessor with that soft touch matte finish of the rear cover. It gives it a nice clean appearance. This time around, it's uniform with its pattern. There's no dots like last time. You do have the Nexus branding right there, and the subtle tapered edges gives it a very distinctive look. And overall, it's quite pleasant to look at, and the construction's decent too. It's not the highest resolution display to grace a tablet that we've seen, but what we see here on the Nexus 7 is pretty astounding. It's a 7-inch 1920 by 1200 IPS LCD panel, which produces a pixel density of 323 pixels per inch, which is really high for a 7-inch tablet. So with that, we're able to make out a lot of fine details. Even the web browser in the zoomed out view, you could tell even with the tiniest of text, a lot of sharpness and clarity with it. So it really excels in the details department. At the same time, seeing that it is an IPS LCD panel, it has a very natural color reproduction. It might not have the wow factor of AMOLED displays, but still more realistic. At the same time, its viewing angles are okay, and its outdoor visibility is pretty good too. Now you might not see it, but there's actually an LED light below the display center right here in the middle that's used for its notifications. Meanwhile, above the display, you have the light sensor and also the front-facing 1.2 megapixel camera, which has the ability to shoot video in 720p. On the right side of the tablet, we find the same set of physical buttons. They include the physical power button and also volume control. They're raised, they're placed at an angle, but they also have really great responses, and nearby too you have the microphone. Along the bottom edge, you have the micro USB port for charging data connectivity. There is no video out functionality, and you can see we have also a set of speakers there too. Well, on the top side, you have the other set of speakers. So it does feature stereo support, and you have also the 3.5mm headset jack. And finally, this time around, they managed to include a rear camera, so it gives the tablet the ability to take photos and videos. It's a 5-megapixel autofocus camera with the ability to shoot 1080p videos, and as you can tell, there is no LED flash with it. Aside from the updated design, the other main aspect to the Nexus 7 is the Android 4.3 Jelly Bean experience that it's offering. It's the most up-to-date version of the platform. There's some new key features that I'll go into in a little bit, but if you look around, it looks pretty much like Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean. So the visuals in itself, it's not really a big departure. Very clean looking, a lot of personalization. The app panel's laid out in the traditional fashion we're accustomed to seeing, and of course the notification area is right there in top left. You could gain access to some additional settings and connectivity features by swiping in top right, and with the lock screen you have once again the widgets that are available to you directly from there, so you don't have to unlock the device to see them. Out of all the new features found with Android 4.3 Jelly Bean, the most notable one is that it now features restricted profile. So it's great if you have kids or if the tablet's used by more than one individual in the family. You could select what kind of access each profile has. So if you go to the settings, go to users, from here you could select the different profiles. You have one administrative user, of course, and then with these other profiles, you could pick and choose what kind of apps they'll have access to. So they're restricted to whatever you say you want them to check out. So if we switch over to that account, so let's go here, you'll see it launches, it gets into Android, but you can see it only shows whatever we had it set. For any gamers out there, Android 4.3 also supports OpenGL ES 3.0, so if you're big into games, graphics, it's going to have that standard for accelerated 3D graphics. So in turn, what you're going to get is just a better experience when it comes to playing games. Anything that's intense with 3D visuals, the new OS is going to be able to handle it with a lot more finesse and ease. And finally, there are also some other minor additions to the Android 4.3 experience. They include things like dial-pad autocomplete for devices that have phone functionality. You're going to also get easier text input, improved language support, and location through Wi-Fi. Aside from that, the visuals and the presentation remain intact to what we've seen already with Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean. It's just nice that you have those new noteworthy features like restricted profiles that really give the tablet just a little bit more depth. Being a Nexus device and all of the core set of organizer apps are pretty much intact. Nothing really new about them. So whether you're checking out the calendar, the calculator, even things like the clock, Google Currents, stuff like that, it's going to be pretty much the same thing we've seen before. When it comes to typing up things with its on-screen keyboard, we can't complain that much just because with the 7 inches in size, our thumbs are able to actually encompass the entire layout with relative ease. It's spacious, super responsive, though with this you could tell right away that in order to input any numbers or punctuation, you got to go to the secondary in the layout itself. The landscape option proves to be a little bit tougher just because it's a little bit more cramped at 7 inches. It's not regarded as the most cutting-edge processor in this day and age, but still effective enough to give the tablet a really nice responsive performance. It's powered by a quad-core 1.5 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro processor. It's coupled with 2 GB of RAM and the Adreno 320 GPU. So you can tell with the home screen with the live wallpaper, it's very fluid with its response, able to track our finger very well, and it's instantaneous. Other things, whether it be basic or trivial things, opening up applications, if you're going to do any gaming, it's more than equipped to handle a lot of stuff, and we definitely notice that it is super peppy and fast with pretty much all of its operations. The model that we're checking out here is the Wi-Fi only version, but they're going to have one with 4G LTE connectivity that's going to support all 4 major carriers in the US. But as far as the web browsing experience is concerned, it's just fantastic just because you have that super high resolution display on here combined with its fast processor. Everything pretty much moves the way you'd expect it to. So you have some fluid navigational controls, instant page rendering, so we can't really complain about it. Naturally, there's only one option when it comes to listening to music out of the box. You have the Google Play Music application, which is very familiar. The presentation is pleasant, but nothing really extraordinary. As far as the audio quality, it does feature 2 speakers, so you get stereo support, very pleasant tones. It's not the strongest, and overall it's rather average to tell you the truth. With its sharp display, you can't go wrong either when it comes to the video watching experience thanks to its high resolution and nice natural looking colors. And you can tell too with the performance, it's very smooth and responsive, so there's a lot to like about it. It's just worth noting that it doesn't offer support for videos encoded in DivX or XVID out of the box, but you do have MPEG-4 and H.264. Even though it's packing a new version of Android, there's nothing new seen with the camera interface. The same exact one we've seen before. Very clean looking UI, uncluttered. You only have 3 icons on the right hand side. You could switch to the different modes, the shutter key, and of course the options and settings. In terms of the scene modes and the manual controls, it's very elementary, nothing really extensive. You have some basic things you can modify like white balance and even the exposure, and you also have touch focus. But that's about it. And of course, being a Nexus device, you also have the cool feature of using photo spheres for those 360-degree views. Surprisingly enough, for a tablet and all, the Nexus 7 takes some very impressive shots with its 5-megapixel autofocus camera, which gives some smartphones a good run for their money. At the same time, it's a new addition just because last year's model didn't have one. So the best shots come outdoors where there's plenty of lighting. In fact, it captures a great amount of detail. You could see a lot of stuff. On top of that, the colors are right there on the neutral side. It's never oversaturated or cool or warm. It's right there in the middle. It could have handled dynamic range a little bit better, but when you take it indoors where there's less lighting, it becomes apparent that its quality takes a dip as there's a lot of noise, some softer details, and washed out looking colors. At the same time, we're very pleased by its 1080p video recording quality, especially for a tablet. It just has some nice looking visuals. Details are right there in the middle. It's average color reproduction, again, on the natural side. The only issues come from its jittery exposure. It seems to go in and out, depending on the lighting conditions, very quickly. And sometimes you do notice some artifacting as you're panning very quickly. We also like the fact that its continuous autofocus is pretty much spot on. It's quick, so something comes up to the camera, it's going to adjust, and then when it's gone, it goes back. Now, this might come to be a shock to some people, but this version of the Nexus 7 is actually sporting a lower capacity battery than its predecessor. But don't worry at all, just because the enhancements found with Android 4.3 combined with its battery optimized hardware provides for some really good battery life. Actually, we're able to get 2.5 days of normal usage out of a full battery, and that's with the automatic brightness setting. Last year's Google Nexus 7 tablet was a big hit, and it's one of our most favorite too, and there's no reason why this new one is going to be just the same. It has everything you want with a successive device. For example, it's packaged down in a thinner, lighter body. You get some higher specs, the high resolution display, for example. You're going to get some new additions too, like the camera in the back, and of course the most up-to-date version of Android. And all that is priced competitively. $230 for the base 16GB version of this tablet. It is $30 more than last year's model, but heck, it's still very competitive to say the least. You could pick up a 32GB version of this tablet for $270, and if you want one with 4G LTE connectivity, it's going to run you $350, which is still really competitive. So it has all the things you'd want in a tablet. It has a great experience, very modest, humble design, very thin and lightweight, and on top of that, some really nice specs to really round out its feature set. So it's an all-around performer in all aspects. So if you want to learn more about the Google Nexus 7, guys, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. This is John V. Thanks for watching.